Ladies and gentlemen, this is Odorama.
You will experience some odors that may shock you. But the producers of this film believe that today's audiences are mature enough to accept the fact that some things in life just plain stink.
In 1981, John Waters invented Odorama for his film Polyester. Each time a number came up on the screen, audiences would scratch and sniff such scents as roses, flatulence, model airplane glue, pizza, gasoline skunk, natural gas, new car smell, dirty shoes, and air freshener. That gimmick inspired JC Calciano to enhance his new film Steam Room Stories with an ode to Odorama called Cinema Scent. Welcome to another edition of the listener-supported KPBS Cinema Junkie podcast. I'm Beth Accomando. Today, I'm speaking with director JC Calciano about John Waters going from YouTube to feature films and coming to San Diego for Film Out. His new film, Steam Room Stories, the movie, stars Traci Lords, who also starred in John Waters' Crybaby. Ooh, okay. I need to take a short break to clear the air after scratching that Odorama number 6. And then I'll be back with my interview with filmmaker JC Calciano. Ooh. JC, you have a new film out, Steam Room Stories. Now, for people who may not be familiar, explain, this comes from a TV series that you had worked on.
Well, actually, it comes from a YouTube show that I've done. I've started it 10 years ago on YouTube, and that's my channel. Steam Room Stories is the channel on YouTube. I started 10 years ago. We have about 230 episodes now, and it was so popular and so much fun to make that I decided to make a feature film of it.
And how has this evolved over the years from YouTube to television to now a feature film?
Well, it started as just kind of this weird little fun thing to do because I had finished my first film and I had such a good experience with it that I was like, well, let me try something. And back in 2009, YouTube was getting hot. So I had to think of something that I could do that was really super cheap. And I had a fog machine, and that was basically all I had. So I went to Target, found a shower curtain that looked like tiles, and I thought, well, I could make a steam room. So I hung the tiles on I taped them to the wall in my living room. I got a coffee table and a couple of guys, and I broke out my linen closet, put them in towels, put the fog machine on, and wrote a 3-minute sketch. And I put it up on YouTube and thinking, well, all right, well, it's, probably nothing will come from it. Hopefully somebody will get a giggle out of it. And then all of a sudden it started to amass all these views. And I thought, well, this is really fun. So I started making more and more. And then what kind of was a happy accident was that I couldn't keep track of the sexuality of the guys, and I just didn't kind of create characters who were predominantly gay, straight, bi, or whatever. I just kind of wrote them, and whatever that their sexuality for the day was for that particular episode was fine. And the audience really responded to the fact that I wasn't making anyone in particular with any kind of affectations, gay or straight. They were just whoever they were. And it kind of really spoke at that time to the addressing, the bisexuality, the fluidity, and the gay, straight affectations, and I liked that. So we just started to create more and more episodes, and over the years it became more and more popular, and became more and more fun. I became friendly with the guys, and I love doing comedy, and I try to address social issues a little bit here and there in them. So it just kind of evolved into this undeniable thing that I thought, well, let's make a movie out of it.
Now, one of the things you do for the film, which you didn't do in the YouTube video or the TV show, is you are presenting it in Cinema Scent. So
yes.
Explain to people what Cinema Scent is.
Okay, well, Cinema Scent is... well, first going back a little bit, in the sense that I had the amazing fortune of getting Traci Lords involved in the film. And, Traci, I've been a fan of Traci's for years and years and years, going back to even the John Waters days when she was in a film called Cry Baby. And I'm a big John Waters fan, and I was a big Traci Lords fan. And when she became available and interested in being in the movie, it gave me the idea of doing a tip of the hat to John Waters' earlier works, specifically Polyester, which at the time I loved the idea that he did this movie in what he called Odorama. And it had an accompanying scratch and sniff card. So when you watch the movie, you are prompted to smell the smells that are going on the screen with this scratch and sniff odor card. And I thought it was just the most fun idea, and I loved it in the 80s. And when I spoke to Traci about it, she's like, "Well, that's a fun idea to do the movie in that." I says, "Could we ask John if that's okay with him?" And she said, absolutely. So we did. I was able to get in touch with John and asked him, and he says, you have my blessing. I wouldn't call it Odorama only because New Line and such has trademarked the word, but it's a scratch and sniff card, and call it what you will. So I came up with the name Cinema Scent, and it's my little ode to John Waters' clever idea from the 80s Odorama.
Oh, hello. Dustin Cleaver here, head odorologist at Sally Faye Cosmetics. I'm here to instruct you on how to use these ingenious fragrance cards you've been given. The other scientists and I here have designed the card you're holding to enhance your viewing pleasure. All you need to do is follow the instructions. A number will inevitably appear on the screen that matches a digit on your card. Just scratch the number and a fragrance will be released. Hold the card up to your olfactory receptor or nose and whiff sharply, like so. Oh. Chamomile and elderberry. Delightful. It's simple, really. Now enjoy the show.
I'm looking forward to this. Can you reveal what some of the scents are that you use?
I could reveal that one of them is a dirty martini, but just how dirty that martini gets, I'm not going to tell you.
All right. Well, you mentioned that this is a tip of the hat to John Waters. He was very much a filmmaker who was working kind of on the outside of Hollywood and very low budget. How do you compare kind of the way you started this with YouTube to kind of the landscape that was going on back in the 70s for him? Do you think it was easier, harder for you to kind of get something like this off the ground?
Well, I think that they're really very, very different in the sense of apples and oranges. There's always a challenge. I think that John's challenges back then were different. Some things were of an advantage. Some things were at a disadvantage. Certainly, we have certain advantages with the technology that we have and the accessibility to the audience. And what I liked about YouTube when I was conceiving this in the 2009 was the fact that it's so democratic in the sense that people can create something. And one of the things that I really, really wanted to do, one of the things that I really admired John for doing, was creating this sense of his community where he controlled and created within a family of people. And I respected that. And having worked in the industry for as many years as I have, and I've worked at the studios, I've worked in television, I've worked in networks, I kind of wanted to, and I always wanted to, just surround myself with people who I really respected and wanted to create with and want to spend time with, and insulate myself from the industry at large that can potentially be very toxic. So YouTube was my advantage, my opportunity to surround myself with people who I liked and create the product I wanted to create without getting notes from an executive or hearing they don't like this, they don't want that, cut this and change that. So it was my way of making my movies my way and just controlling all aspects of production. and creation.
And you mentioned Traci Lords, and she's a very iconic actress at this point. And what was she like to work with? And did you end up creating the role specifically for her?
Well, Traci is remarkable to work with. She is so committed, so hardworking, and so generous with not only her time but every aspect of the film. She's the first one to step up and say, well, what can I help with? What do you need? What can I bring to the table? And that's amazing, truly, truly a gift for an independent filmmaker, because she gets it, and she's been there to, for big budget films and for smaller budget films, and she knows the struggle. So being aware of that struggle is really something that she's happy to help with. I kind of originally wrote the role for a much older gal, and when Traci expressed interest in it, I said, well, I have to have Traci. That's just, it's going to be. So I rewrote the role for her, and then in the conversation when we were talking about how to develop that character, we had a couple of conversations on how to play this devilishly, comedically evil kind of woman, but also give her a little sense of redeeming qualities, a little lovability, a little kind of quirky, broken nature to her just devilish side. So we really kind of collaborated on that in a big way, and and I was just watching the film the other day at the Castro Theater, which is 1,200 seats, and it's on this huge screen, and it looked fantastic, and I was so excited about seeing it in that theater. And she just lit up the screen. She's just funny and sweet and mean and just all these things that you'd ever want somebody to be.
They're doing what?
I wouldn't worry about it. Those guys are so clueless, you could lock them in a mattress store, and they would still sleep on the floor.
They want to save that steam room, and you're going to help them.
I am?
I want you to join their little group and report everything back to me.
Spy on them? I'm sorry. I'm not comfortable with doing that.
Oh, Neil. You've been in the beauty industry for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you're familiar with muscle relaxants?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just 45 milliliters of pure Botox injected directly into your sperm worm. And the only thing you'll find hard is an algebra equation.
Sally, please be reasonable.
Can I count on you, Neil? Good boy. Now go do what I asked you to do.
I'll be right back after this final break with more of my interview with JC Calciano. And in moving the story to the big screen, what did you feel you could do with a movie that maybe you hadn't had the opportunity to do either on YouTube or with a TV series?
Well, the challenge was to get a 3-minute sketch that happens only in a steam room to a theater, to a 90-minute format. Certainly it's not only going to be in the steam room, because that would really be small and claustrophobic. But there are a lot of challenges. There are a lot of challenges on creating a storyline of characters that you've kind of grown to love and relate to, these lovable kind of half-wit guys, but also something that's going to be sustainable for 90 minutes, and a love story, and a villain, and a plot, and there's a lot of things that go into crafting a 90-minute engaging story plus comedy that was a challenge from making something that was just a 3-minute sketch. You have to create a whole world that doesn't necessarily exist in the backstory. So on some levels, you have all the creative freedom in the world, and on the other hand, you're kind of limited to what the fans know and love about the show. And
I understand you and Traci Lords are going to be coming here to San Diego for the film out screening. Yes. So I've played several of my films. In fact, I think all my films. I have this is my 4th film.
So my first film is called Is It Just Me, and then the second one is E-Cupid, and then 10-Year Plan, and they've been a true champion of my films and the community and other great works. So they invited us down, and we just jumped at the chance. We said we would be flattered and thrilled to bring the film down to San Diego, and then when Traci found out about it, she says, I'd love to come too. So we all gathered the troops. So there's going to be some of the guys from the show, from the movie, and Traci and I are all going to come down and show the film, answer questions, meet the fans, and really kind of have a great time down there. And
will you be scratching and sniffing along with the rest of us?
Yes, I will be. I will be scratching and sniffing along. I'm going to bring all the cards, and we're going to be scratching and sniffing at the same time.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing the film with you guys and having it come down here to San Diego.
Well, thank you for your time, and we look forward to everybody coming down and having a good time, meeting Traci and saying hi to me, and certainly thank you for your time and telling everybody about this fun event.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was filmmaker JC Calciano. He and Traci Lords, as well as other cast members, will be in attendance September 18th for the Film Out San Diego screening of Steam Room Stories, the movie. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cinema Junkie Podcast. Sorry the last podcast got delayed, but I'm back on schedule and the podcast will return every other Friday. Please subscribe to the podcast and recommend it to a friend. Till our next Film Fix, I'm Beth Accomando, your resident cinema junkie.